All right, so we're talking about adding, subtracting mixed numbers. Here's our key concept. The first thing you need to do is find the lowest common denominator of the fraction portion of the mixed number if necessary. Rename the fractions if necessary, and that's going to involve some borrowing, and we'll tell you how to do that. Then add or subtract the fractions. Add or subtract the whole numbers kind of separately, and then if there's any simplifying that needs to be done, you need to do that as well. Start off with kind of an easy example here. Again, I like to go ahead and rewrite them vertically. So in this case, we just add up the whole numbers and we get 45. And we add up the numerators and we get 311. So kind of start off with an easy one. Not much has changed, just add things separately. Same thing here if you subtract 8/15, 1 and 1/15, subtract them out, you're going to get 6 and 7/15. So just subtract the whole number, subtract the fractions, you're good to go. Already have common denominators, not too bad. Same thing here, already have common denominators, subtract the whole numbers, subtract the numerators, and you get 4 and 4/7. So that should not feel that much different than what we've already done. Alright, so in this case we don't have common denominators, we need to find them. So we have 2 and 4. Common denominators in this case are going to be 4. So this one's not going to change at all. You don't do anything with the whole numbers, just kind of almost you can write them right off the bat. You just are finding common denominators of the fractions. So we need to multiply top and bottom by 2. And you have 10 and 3/4. Okay, so again, not a lot changed there, just kind of almost pretend like the whole numbers aren't there until the very end. Alright, so here's a little scenario here. We still need to find common denominators. We have 6 and 4. And so the lowest common denominator that we can find is actually going to be 12. Whoops, get that one out of there. So again, how do we get to 12? Well, we need to multiply top and bottom by 2. Again, don't worry about the whole number. Multiply top and bottom by 3. Okay, so now this is where this renaming concept comes in. We got a problem. 2 cannot be taken from 9. Okay, we can't end up with like a negative fraction but positive whole numbers. That doesn't work. What you need to do instead is borrow 1 from the whole number. So now that's 7. We borrowed 1, but we got to add it back on somewhere. So what we do is we add 1 in the form of a fraction. 12 over 12 is the same thing as 1, but we're going to make it 12 over 12 so that we can have common denominators when we add. So now so again, we took it away from the whole number, made it a 7, added that 1 back in fraction form on the other side here. So now, for a brief second here, I'm going to have a kind of a weird looking fraction so that I can do this problem. This only needs to be done on subtraction type problems. So now I have 1 and 5/12. Just go ahead and subtract like normal. Okay, so that's called borrowing or kind of renaming is another word for that. So here is another scenario. We have a whole number and a mixed number combined. That doesn't really work either. Okay, so we have a whole number minus a mixed number. What we have to do is turn that whole number into a mixed number. So we can do that by borrowing from it and making that 7 and 8/8. So see how we borrowed the 1 from the 7, tacked it back on in fraction form. The reason why I made it 8/8 is to match up with this denominator so we don't really have to do anything once we're ready to subtract. So again, borrowed to make it a fraction and use the same denominator as my other fraction so to kind of make it easier. So now I'm left with 2 and 7/8. So again, kind of a different borrowing scenario there. So adding is fairly straightforward. Find common denominators and add them up. But sometimes subtracting, you have to do a little more work than that. So here is another borrowing scenario. Let's kind of rewrite them vertically first. So we need to find a common denominator. That's going to be 24 is the first one that we come to. Actually, sorry. So what do? I need to multiply by 3, top and bottom. Multiply by 2, top and bottom. Okay, so now I have 2 24ths minus 9 24ths. Doesn't work, so I have to borrow, making that 11. I'm going to add this back in fraction form. 24 over 24 would reduce to 1. So I'm taking 1 here, adding it back in fraction form. So now I have 11 and 26 24ths minus 3 and 9 24ths, which is going to give me 8 and 19 24ths. Okay, so the borrowing is the most tricky part here.